It was late, the kind of late where the world felt like it had already fallen asleep. The kind of late where only the dim glow of streetlights lingered, casting eerie shadows on the pavement. The kind of late when you start hearing things you can't explain, the rustle of leaves when there's no wind, footsteps behind you when there's no one there. I should have known better. I should have listened to that gnawing feeling deep in my gut, but I didn't. Maybe it was my desire to feel independent or just too tired to take the long way around, but there I was, walking home alone after a long evening shift. My phone had just died, and I'd left my charger at work. My heart started racing as the darkness seemed to close in around me. The streets weren't empty, they were quiet, too quiet. The city that usually felt bustling and alive now felt hollow, like I was the only one left behind. I pulled my jacket tighter around myself, hugging my arms for warmth. The cool night air bit at my skin, and I could feel a chill creeping down my spine. I didn't like the feeling in my chest, that knot, the one that wouldn't go away, the one that told me something was wrong. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew it wasn't paranoia. I quickened my pace. There was a sound behind me, faint but unmistakable. Footsteps. My heart skipped a beat. It was the kind of sound you don't want to hear when you're alone in the dark. I glanced over my shoulder, trying to appear casual, but I saw no one. Still, the feeling lingered, like someone or something was just out of sight, following me. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, just someone else out for a late-night walk, maybe a jogger, but the feeling didn't go away. The footsteps matched mine, always just a little too close. My breath grew shallow, and I could feel the panic rising in my chest. I was terrified. My mind raced with all the worst-case scenarios. What if someone was following me? What if they meant harm? What if I wasn't strong enough to defend myself? I wanted to run, but I didn't. Not yet. Running would draw attention to my fear, and that's when things could get dangerous. If someone saw that I was scared, they could take advantage of it. I needed to stay calm. I needed to think clearly. I kept walking, but my mind was frantic. I scanned the street ahead of me, looking for anything I could use. There was a bus stop about 2 blocks away, but it felt like miles. The night stretched on, and I felt the weight of every second passing, knowing that the longer I walked alone, the more vulnerable I became. The footsteps behind me grew louder. My stomach churned. I could feel someone's presence, like they were just waiting for the right moment. I didn't dare turn around again. I knew I couldn't show weakness, but I also knew I couldn't keep walking at this pace. I needed to make a decision, and fast. There was a store up ahead. A convenience store with a big neon sign that flickered in the dark. It wasn't much, but it was something. It was a light in the darkness. I had to get there. I had to get to safety. Without thinking too much, I changed direction, heading straight for the store. My feet pounded against the pavement as I tried to pick up the pace, but my body was starting to betray me. My legs felt like lead, and the heavy weight in my chest made it harder to breathe. The fear was a physical thing now, pressing down on me from all sides. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't let fear win. I reached the store and practically threw open the door, stumbling inside. The bell above the door jingled, and the warm light inside felt like a safety net, wrapping around me and making everything outside seem distant. The clerk behind the counter gave me a curious look, but I didn't care. I felt like I could breathe again, even though my heart was still racing. I stood there for a moment, trying to collect myself, trying to stop shaking. The clerk didn't ask if I was okay, but there was something in his eyes that said he knew. He didn't press. He just kept working, letting me stand there and gather my strength. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I needed to be more careful next time, I told myself. I needed to trust my instincts, to listen to the warning signs my body was giving me. That gnawing feeling, it wasn't just paranoia, it was my intuition telling me to be aware, to be ready. I didn't know if the person following me was dangerous, or if it was just my imagination running wild. But I also knew I couldn't take chances. I had to trust that feeling, the one that told me when something wasn't right. After what felt like an eternity, I gathered my courage and walked out of the store. The streets were still dark, but now I felt more prepared. I took a deep breath, walking quickly toward my home. This time, I wasn't going to let fear rule me. I was going to stay alert, stay strong. I made it home that night, but I'll never forget the fear I felt. It was the kind of fear that makes you realize how fragile safety can be, how quickly things can turn from calm to chaotic. I realized that I wasn't just afraid of what might happen, but of how easily I could have been caught off guard. That night, I learned the importance of being aware of my surroundings, of listening to my body's warning signs. I learned that sometimes fear isn't something to push away or ignore. It's something to acknowledge, something that tells you to stay sharp, to protect yourself. But above all, I learned that fear doesn't define me. I may have been scared, but I wasn't powerless. And that realization, knowing that I had the strength to walk through the fear, was the most important thing I could have learned. I wasn't foolish enough to think that the danger was gone. The world is full of uncertainty, and bad things can happen when you least expect it. But what matters is how we react. We can't let fear paralyze us, and we can't allow it to control our lives. I realized that, while there will always be moments when I feel vulnerable, I have the power to take action. I can walk with my head high, trust my instincts, and make smart choices. I can take precautions, like walking in well-lit areas, keeping my phone charged, and being aware of my surroundings. But most importantly, I know now that strength is found in knowing when to be cautious and when to take charge of your own safety. That night, something shifted inside me. The fear didn't go away completely, but it no longer had the same hold on me. I learned that fear is a natural response, but it doesn't have to define who you are. It doesn't have to control how you live your life. Every day after that, I walked a little taller. I didn't forget the fear, but I used it to make me stronger. I became more aware of the world around me, not just in the dark hours, but in all moments of my life. And that, I realized, was the most important lesson of all. To be strong, to trust myself, and to never let fear make me forget my own power.